Now, loosely related to optional chaining, we got another nice feature in TypeScript which helps us deal with nullish data. And that feature is called Nullish Coalescing. Now, imagine you have some data, some input, where you don't know with certainty whether it's null or undefined or whether it's actually a valid piece of data. For example, user input could be null, let's say. Now again, here we hard-code this into TypeScript, hence TypeScript knows that this is null. But if you're fetching this through some DOM API where you don't know it with certainty, or if you're getting this from a backend, then you might not know in advance, and TypeScript might not know whether this is null or not. If you then want to store this in some other constant or variable, like stored data, you might want to make sure that if it is null, you store a fallback value. Now you can do so with the logical OR operator, where you store a default, where you get the second value if the first one is undefined or null, if it's falsy to be precise. The problem with this approach is if this is actually not null or undefined, but let's say an empty string, it is treated as a falsy value, and therefore that default fallback value will kick in. So if I console log stored data here, you will see that this prints default. Now maybe that is what you want, and in that case this is a perfectly fine solution. But if you want to keep that user input or whatever data you're working with, unless it really is null or undefined, then you need another approach, because here we would treat this as falsy and use the fallback. But maybe you want to keep an empty input, just null or undefined should be handled differently. For that, TypeScript also has an operator, the double question mark operator. This is called the Nullish Coalescing operator, and it means if this is null or undefined, and really just that, not an empty string, not zero, really just null or undefined, then we'll use the fallback. If it's not null or undefined, we'll use that value. So in this scenario here, this compiles, and you see we stored the empty string, hence I'm not printing anything here. This is the empty string. If this, on the other hand, let's say is undefined here and I save this, you say now it says default, because thanks to this double question mark operator, we fall back to this, well, fallback. And therefore here we got another very useful feature which can help you deal with nullish or undefined values with grace.